I must have just gotten to that movie way, way too late. I'm pretty sure that I've talked about this before, but Titanic did absolutely nothing for me by the time I saw it. What it actually did for me was so I had always heard about the Titanic, about how it was all about Leo getting what's her face, painting her naked and then trying to get her off the boat, right? What I didn't realize is that halfway through the movie, he got her off the boat. Like, he got her on a lifeboat. He succeeded in his mission. The hero's journey completed.
Yeah.
Won. And then that dumbass jumped back on the boat. And at that moment, I literally paused the movie. I turned, I looked at my wife, and I said, "Are you kidding me right now?" She goes, "What?" I go, "She jumped back on the boat." She goes, "Yeah, she can't be separated from him." I'm like, no, this moment forward, this movie, this is bullshit. Like, from that point in that movie, I was like, this whole movie is garbage. I don't understand what everybody got into. He succeeded at that. If it was me, if I was Leo, I'm turning around to Billy Zane in that moment and being like, "Hey, Billy, I tried. You got a plan?" And Billy Zane be like, "I got you, dude." And they would go over, he'd pay off, they'd get on their boat, and then the rest of the movie just should have been Billy Zane and Leo DiCaprio partying it up in New York while that ship sank.
Flipping the heart of the ocean. Ooh.
Yes.
Welcome to the Down Level Podcast, episode 27. So this week, we're going to be discussing our favorite quotable movies. A lot of us impact us in different ways. Some of us, use it in our normal lives when we're doing things, and it's cool to catch people who know what we're talking about. And sometimes you may do a quote, and they're like, everybody in the room's like, "What are you talking about?" And you kind of feel like a fool. But hey, if you're the only one in the know, it's all that matters to you.
Hi, programs. I'm Vince's dad.
Hi, programs. I'm Vince's Uncle Colin by another mother.
And father.
I guess it is important to keep track of that. Are we programs? Is that what we're referring to people then?
Why not?
Why
It doesn't
not?
matter.
It's a quote.
Yeah, it's a quote. Or think of a quote to say hi to people.
Very good. Programs. Okay, fine. What we're saying? Oh, hi, programs. I'm David. I'm not related, I guess.
Stipulated at the bottom of the screen, not related.
That's right. Yes, you need to put that down there. Right here.
Not related.
Little scroller. Next.
Hello, true believers. I'm the Next Level of Dad podcast. The next generation.
Excelsior, true believers. Anyway, so
That's it. Good night, folks.
yeah, we're done. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned next week for, will Batman be able to get out of this? Anyway.
How did he get into those tights?
Well, if you want to get into quotes, then you want to go with Batman. Then you could always say, "Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb."
Right, chum.
And now we're all looking at each other like, okay, now what?
Now what?
It's all uphill from here.
Yeah, it's like the camera. We're like, no one's watching this. It's just us right now, but it's like the potential of people watching us be idiots on camera, but scaring us from being like
this collective heard throughout the land.
Consciousness.
Yeah,
A time capsule of incompetence.
Come on now, Adam West is perfectly fine.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is. He's dancing with Betty White.
That's right. Yeah.
Is it too soon? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are they doing the Bat-2C?
I think it's too soon for Adam West. It might be too soon for Betty White.
Yeah.
Burt Ward's over there in the corner going.
Great. Now I have an image of Betty White in the Batman suit. Thank you.
That would be Batgirl.
There you go.
Dad and Colin. Let's talk about the movies that impacted you before us.
When you say impacted, do you mean that
impacted and made you want to quote things?
Oh,
Okay.
Man.
Going to Star Wars and seeing it 22 times in theaters. So you're like,
Yeah, my mom was looking at me and I was talking and everything I could remember from the movie. She goes, "Does anybody understand what he's talking about?" No, no. Star Wars isn't a great one to quote, but
Got a few.
I have to admit, when I had my Delta 88, I was Han, and Colin's
Oh.
brother was always Chewie, but Chewie was a much better navigator. Because Colin would not Colin, sorry, buddy, I'm not going to get you in trouble.
Go for it.
Randy, with so many of your brothers, Randy would always wait to like the last second, go, okay, turn right.
One of these days, I've got to get him in on this.
Yeah, I'd love to have Uncle Randy on here.
Right now, they could use some levity, so yes, I will mention it to him. Yeah, Star Wars has got a few decent quotes, but everybody's heard them at this point. So I mean, it's like, "I am your father. No, there is another." Use the Force, all stuff like that. It's all become, mainstream, I guess. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, but there was a couple of good. There was like, "You still hanging out with this loser?" That got picked up, from Empire Strikes Back, and everybody picked up on the "May the Force be with you," that kind of stuff. It was the other ones that actually, real fans picked up on and threw at each other.
But I was going to go to the Tasha station to get some power converters.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. I think that speaking of Chewie, I think he's the most misquoted character of any movie.
No.
Because nobody can really do the Wookiee call right. So everyone.
I've known some women who could really do the Wookiee talk, and I was like, man, why is it that women seem to be able to do that better than men? And I'm not saying anything, but I've known a few who could imitate a Wookiee very well.
Mm-hmm.
And you never wanted to let them lose a game because they'll rip your arm off.
Exactly.
Well, but I mean, keep in mind, yes, we're talking about now where things are very overly played, but for you guys back in high school, 77 to 80.
But now that you said that, like in school, it wasn't always just the words that we quoted. There were scenes in the movies that just stood out and that just called to you, even though common sense said, no, don't do it. I do it, I do it, do it, I don't do it. I do it, and you do it. Yeah. I remember being in high school, and the Larriettes were carrying the banner for the football game. And they had just finished it. It was still a little bit wet, but it was really cool looking. And I happened to be walking down the hallway and saw it passing across the hallway.
Oh boy.
And I was like, dude, I did it. And I went, yeah, I did it. And I started quoting football movies and stuff. And as I go through the brand new banner that they had just painted for the football that night, I was like, yeah, he scores a touchdown and all that. And then all of a sudden was wondering why I was being chased through the food court by a bunch of football players who didn't think it was as funny as I did. But, so it's not just quotes. There are scenes that that you just have to reenact.
That's a really good point, because how many of us have sat there and pretended to be Darth Vader choking somebody? Yeah, or kids in their heads. Yeah,
kids in the hall.
That one I still do to this day. It's not great that I do it at church, but I still do it.
David's like, I'm not gonna smile. I'm not gonna laugh. I'm gonna be quiet here.
Laugh, man. Laugh, enjoy it.
Yeah.
This is a peek into history right here. That's what this is gonna be. Because Vince and I did stuff like this all the time. And we had a surrounding cast of characters who would come in and out, like Kenny Jackson and your Uncle Gene and my brother Randy, sometimes Mike, and maybe once in a great moon, Tony, and then Brandon, and then Ray, and then God, I can't remember this. The one guy who had the character who was almost like Wolverine. He was with us for a short time. He was one of the people I met through the comic store in South Houston. I think it was Mike.
Can't remember.
But we always
it'll
have
pop in my head in a minute.
Characters who, and we just There were times when Mark, of course, but we
and then Paul and a bunch of other people that, you know, just the idea of sitting around the desk at a comic shop, you heard tons of quotes.
yes.
And or people, you know, just conversations. And then what would really be funny is when somebody who was really quiet, just visiting the shop, looking through stuff, all of a sudden pops up and does a quote that cracks up everybody in the room, because, you know, this dude's been sitting over there nonchalantly just listening and got the conversation and just jumped right on in, you know, held his nose and dived into the deep end.
And of course, Vince and I heard one of the single greatest non-movie related quotes of all time with Paul Hernandez at the Southeastern Comic Shop when his reference to Spider-Man. It's literally just R-rated, and it's one of those things we've talked about before off camera, but that was one of the single greatest quotes.
What would you do if to get somebody else's?
Yeah, to get Spider-Man's powers. Yeah, and it was just, and he just went right down the rabbit hole with it. And it was
to quote somebody else, I won't do that.
Yeah.
But or there was a time that I worked at a restaurant, and the neighboring restaurant had a sign, the sign where you build the letters and everything. So I decided to go over and do a obscene movie quote.
Oh.
And as I'm doing it, everybody's laughing and everything else. And I noticed everybody's really quiet behind me. And I was like, what's the matter? And they're all going. And I'm like the dog going, what? And then I realized there's a police car pulling up on the other side of the sign behind me in the parking lot. And I'm like trying to shrink. And then as they pull up, I'm like going around the sign. They stop. I see the back of their car and I'm watching. And then the police car backs up. So I walk back around to the front of the sign. And I think, I got this. They're going to keep doing this and then they'll leave. And then they both got out of the car and each walked around the sign. And I was like instantly surrounded by police. I was like, hi. Oh, what's your spelling here? And then they just ran over me with what I had spelled and what I had written. And they were like, oh, that's childish. I would have said that. And they came up with stuff that was better than what I was wanting to do. And I was like, wow. Hey, yeah. And we started laughing, having a good time. And I go, so does this mean I'm not in trouble? And they were like, oh, you're in trouble, but let's just keep going with it. And I was like, oh, okay. As long as I can prolong going to jail, let's just keep rolling with it. And eventually they were like, are those your friends? I said, yeah, we just got a fork and I'm going to be taking them home. He goes, they're going to, you know what? We're going to cut you some slack. We're going to go drive down the street and we're going to come back through. We want the sign to be what it was when you originally messed with it, and we want y'all gone. I was like, okay. So they started laughing and they drove off, and they were like, man, I don't want to write. You could just see in their eyes, I don't want to write this up. Just leave the kid, cut the kid a break. So they leave, and then comes the whole thing where I don't remember what the hell it said. So then all my friends come running up and they're trying to tell me, and none of them can agree on what it is. And then there's, of course, the one guy who's like saying the most obscene thing. I think it said this. And I was like, no, it didn't say that. They go, maybe it said this. Stop. You're not helping the situation. You know, and finally I just put up whatever I thought it was. We got in our car and left. And then the next day, one of the girls that I knew that worked at the other fast food, she comes in, she goes, people keep coming in and asking us why we're having something on sale. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. She goes, our sign. Somebody changed the sign at night. And they said this product is on sale for like 35 cents. And they freaking keep coming into the store, the drive-thru. And I was like, man, that sucks.
I would have said that's good business. Did you sell me anything else?
It was like, no, I just want this conversation to end. Can you please go back to work? But yeah, I blame it all on movies, video games, comic books, and everything else.
Skippy.
Yeah, that has been a problem for society. That damn rock and roll music.
And their Nintendos and their rock and roll music. That's right.
Stupid 8-track machines.
You know, Bytes, we didn't have Nintendos back then, dude. We had handheld games that went
Yep.
and it was exciting watching a red dot go like this across the screen.
Yeah, no, my dad had a little handheld football thing that it had 3 red dots. So
that was an expensive one.
You had the 3 red dots and you had to move them along the screen, and eventually it made a sound and you got a touchdown and it gave you little points and you're like, all right, I'm doing great.
You got to remember, My generation came from like this little metal plate that vibrated by a magnet, and you put little plastic figures on it, and it went. And you just
yeah.
watch to hope to see if the receiver made it to a touchdown or got touched by another character.
That's right. And we had the what was it? That basketball thing? You cocked the arms back and he threw the ball.
Threw the ball into the hoop.
Yes.
That would never actually sometimes either get to the hoop or went too far and would take out a small child walking behind it.
Or get your cats really pissed off.
Or make you hit the cat laying on the floor. What the hell? What the hell? Talk about another quotable moment. All right, we've distracted enough. Come on, Chris, David, come in and save us.
Come on, somebody talk something here. Come on.
All right, guys. So I was going to make a quote about Back to the Future, the whole thing of like, what's a rerun? You have 2 TVs? Man, you must be rich. Anyway, but so Chris is the
Turned a
youngest.
time machine.
So Chris, why
out
don't
of
you
a
tell us like
DeLorean?
what it was for you for movies? I know that me and your brother had a big influence on you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up exposed to everything. My dad wanted us to watch any movie. He didn't care what the rating was. He just wanted us to like experience, different kinds of genres, different kinds of senses of humor, things like that. One of the comedians I loved growing up was Albert Brooks, and Defending Your Life. I love that movie, and we would just quote it all the time growing up. And who are you? I'm Prince Charming. Who are you? Dinner. He's seeing his past life. He's being chased by a lion. Just that kind of humor. Like the very like I'm in the afterlife. I should be living it up, but I'm miserable. That kind of humor was just great. It was an awesome thing to be exposed to young.
I love that heaven was full of pie.
Yeah. You can eat anything you want. You don't get fat. You don't get full. Yeah, it just so seeing Albert Brooks movies, The Scout, with him and Brendan Fraser, it just those movies were some of my favorites. Seeing those Albert
It's hard to believe, but I'm gonna throw a piece of trivia. Do you know who Albert Brooks's brothers were?
I do not.
Super Dave Osborne was his oldest brother.
I did not
remember
know
what
that.
the younger brother was. The younger brother got smart and got out of being in front of the camera and got to being behind the camera. But yeah, when I first found out that Super Dave was Albert Brooks's brother, I was like, wow, how is that working?
Yeah.
Total different. Both of them were really
completely different
comic styles, but you could see it, that droll, kind of what's the other comedian who always came on and he was like, hi everybody, and he always talked with that monotone voice. And
Stephen Wright,
man, I love him. Yeah, and he reminded me of that kind of comic style, and we don't have a whole lot of that anymore.
No, the closest we get is old Jerry Seinfeld, but that's it. Because some of his stuff was very monotone. Which reminds me of something else we used to quote a lot, because way back in the day we didn't have a lot. We had Monty Python.
Oh yeah, Monty Python.
We had
and Benny Hill
and Benny Hill and the Goodies
and the Goodies. Yeah,
a lot of British comedy was very early for us.
Yeah, especially since they came on like late night on a Saturday on channel 26.
Yes.
And
39, 20,
and 39, yeah.
And had the old stuff.
And I think like Red Dwarf, all of the science fiction stuff that was on channel 8 or channel 9, I can't remember what it was, but
it was 8.
Yeah, we were really influenced by a lot of television, sadly. But I remember there was a movie with Dudley Moore and his partner at the time.
It's not Hugh Laurie. It's Peter Cook.
Peter Cook, yeah. And they remember the frog skit
Yes.
Can't do that on here. But they did a Sherlock Holmes spoof, which was the Hound of the Baskerville.
Oh, I
And the
remember.
dog, instead of being the big, hound from hell, was this little French poodle who liked to pee on everybody. And he's got the dog, and Dudley Moore is like walking around trying to steal the thunder from Sherlock Holmes, and it says he's figured out the crime. So he's holding up the dog, and he's turning and confronting everybody, kind of like you'd see in an old Perot, Agatha Christie's movie. And every time he turns the dog in front of somebody to talk or accuse, the dog pees right in their face. And I was dying. And about the time he got to the 10th person, they're just saturated with dog urine. And so I always wanted to get like a little balloon and go to school at lunchtime and reenact that scene and just squeeze it as I was talking to everybody. But I never could figure out how to get away with it. But that movie had so many quotes that I did a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
So David,
Yeah. Come on, David. Give us something good.
I mean, growing up, it was, I didn't get into a lot of the, real quotable movies. It was just like a lot of Disney. And yeah, there was, like we talked about, right, there was a little bit of Star Wars. I watched a lot of The Last Starfighter, but doesn't really have a lot of great quotes to it. It's just a fun little movie. Probably the stuff that I quoted the most as a kid was like we all were talking about, right, from television, where we had, all the Steven Spielberg produced stuff, right? The Animaniacs, Freakazoid, Tiny Toons, all that stuff, right? Like all that came out. And then even before that, I was kind of engrossed in the Looney Tunes, right? So I always loved Marvin the Martian and him wandering around where I can't even say the whole name of it, his space modulator, right? To blow everything up and how
30.
all that good stuff. But I think the first movie that I started really quoting a lot of was I would go over to my grandparents' house and I would watch Tommy Boy, and they would always cover up my eyes at the scene where David Spade was watching the lady in the pool. But everything else, outside of that, right? The bees, oh God, the bees. And then where's it hurt? Not here or here so much, but right here, right? Just all those little fun things kind of came together with Tommy Boy. And then, as I got older, it was I started. I didn't quote a ton from movies. It was more of I would pick a quote that I would like and I would utilize in various situations. Like right now, probably the ones that I use the most would be from Fight Club with I am Jack's complete lack of surprise, right? I use that. I find I use that one quite a bit. And then before we started recording with Airplane, right? Whenever something goes on at work and something's crazy or somebody comes to me with some problem that's just nuts, my response is usually, man, I picked the wrong day to stop, and then just insert,
One of the lines.
Whatever. Yeah.
glue, huffing paint, methamphetamine, right? Whatever I feel like throwing out at the time.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it's been. I mean, there's some I still abuse from time to time. That's
Roger. Doctor.
Don't call me Shirley.
David brings up a good thing. Spielberg, across various mediums, he created or was part of stuff that was very quotable. He was part of Jaws. He was part of Raiders, all the cartoon stuff David mentioned. All of that stuff. There's not a super lot of quotes, but the stuff that you quote, everybody knows. Like, we're going to need a bigger boat. Things like that.
Well, it wasn't until they were nonchalantly delivered, but they were quotable,
Yes.
But God, man, you can think of History of the World has tons of quotable moments in it. But it wasn't until we got action heroes, real action heroes, that we started getting the quotable
the
quips.
one-liners.
The one-liners, I'll be back, that kind of
Arnold
stuff.
Schwarzenegger lines.
I think
And,
Connery started it with the Bond movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good point. Shaken, not stirred.
The
Hi.
first movie, they go sailing off the cliff. What happened? I guess they were going to a funeral. And then just from there, just takes off.
Yeah.
Highlander.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Candy. But of course you are. But I throw Sean Connery in there, and it's the Kurgan who says it. But that line, those kind of lines.
Well, I mean, for me, it was, Back to the Future was a big influence. So, Great Scott.
Is there something
But it
wrong
was
with the gravitational field where
Where's
everything?
that word again? Heavy.
Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
there was moments in that, both Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom at the time that were quotable.
Yeah.
Bad dates.
Golly, man.
Cover your heart, Andy. Cover your heart.
We are going to die.
He's not crazy. No. What is it? Sharon.
No time for love, Dr. Jones.
Is he mad? No, he's not mad. He's crazy. Yeah. There wasn't that many from The Last Crusade.
No.
As there was from the first two.
I love the Last Crusade quotes on that one.
Yeah. I mean, the ones we got were great. No Ticket.
I suddenly remembered my Charlemagne. My armies be the
Charlemagne.
rocks, the trees, and the birds in the sky.
Guy. Or
Okay, that was
what
good.
is this? What is this? Indiana. What is it?
Yeah. What
We
is this,
named the
Indiana? We
dog.
named the dog in
Yeah.
We named the dog.
named after a dog.
What is this Indy?
How do you know that, Dad? Oh, she talks in her sleep.
Sleep. Great
That's a
great
good
moment
Connery.
to know that you just nailed the same person your dad did. Whoa. And that would jump right into the crying game where the guy's in the bathroom scrubbing himself after he finds out that the person he just made love with was a dude.
And
How
then
do you not know that?
And they parodied that in Ace Ventura, the first
And Ace
movie.
Ventura.
Chris, we never formally met. I got to hear you say something, man, with that Sean Connery voice because it's so good.
Oh, thank you.
I sprayed the bathroom with citrus. Now it smells like shit.
I sprayed the bathroom with citrus. Now it smells like shit.
He does an even better Sean Connery than I do. I used to do a really good Sean Connery. I used to go around quoting your best.
Well, that's where
Boosters are always whining about doing their best with the quarterback or whether the hero goes back on.
Waiters go home and fuck up drum
Pound queen. Yeah, I used to do that all the time.
And that's the thing too, is because like not even just movies, it's actors.
Yes.
Arnold, all the time. It's like, let off some steam, Bennett. Get to the chopper.
Get to the Java.
Ice that guy. Cone de
I remember that I used to get into them and I'd mimic them so much that I get stuck in them and then I couldn't quit doing it. And people would be going, "Will you stop it?" And I go, I can't. They possess me. I'm channeling them. And I remember I took everybody to go see Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And I was buying the tickets and the poor lady up there, she's like, "How many tickets?" She just knew she had sold so many and just did not want to be there anymore. And I was like, "Give me 4 pickle for your ass and park." And she was like,
"You said I want 4 tickets to your ass in the park."
Your ass in the park. And she was like, "Huh?" Well, I said, "Your ass in the park." And she goes, "I don't understand what you're saying." And she was literally. Her brain had shut down hours ago, and she was like, "Why are you doing this to me?" And this other guy comes up and he goes, "What do you want?" I said, "I want 2 tickets to Jurassic Park." And he looks at her like, "What the hell's wrong with you? Why didn't you understand what he was saying?" And she just gives me the ticket. "Have a nice day." we walked on into the theater, and I was just thinking, yeah, she's waiting for me in the parking lot, and I'm gonna get stabbed from behind.
Oh, I'll give you Jurassic in the Park. That reminds me of a time when Batman '89 had come out. By the time it actually hit theaters, I had been to 3 of it. Somehow, when I was working at Third Planet, I managed to get into 3 premieres of it. And at the third one was out in Baytown. And friends and I are just bullshitting and, just being a bunch of dorky 19, 20-year-olds. She goes, "Do you mind? My kid is here." And I looked at her and I said, "Lady, you have no idea what you're going to see."
No. It always amazed. I walked out of a theater one time after seeing Titanic with a friend of mine from work. and there was a group of young ladies, and one of them was just really crying, and she was really, I would have never decided to come see this movie if I hadn't known how it was going. If I'd known how it was going to end, why didn't you tell me it was a sad movie? And I was like, lady,
Really?
you didn't know the Titanic sunk? Where the hell have you been? And Diane was like, Vince, stop. Just quit picking, because we're happened to be walking in the same direction to our cars, and they were in front. So I was just one after the other making comments to Diane, but it was directed at the group in front of us, and they'd look over their shoulder like, I was like, come on, I'm not the one who didn't know the damn boat sank.
Don't
Yeah,
talk
but
about the Hindenburg.
Hindenburg. Why? It blew up. Yes, it blew up. That is why it's famous.
Yeah.
If
My
it had
kids-
made the flight safely, we wouldn't be watching a movie about it now, would we?
Yeah. No, it's okay. The iceberg apologized and patched the hole. It's good. No,
They
but
all
my
survived.
kids-
They were good Olympic swimmers.
my kids used to call the movie Titanic when they wanted to watch it.
I got to admit one thing is that we were in it was 1,596 people arena. I don't know where they came up with that number, but that's what it says, seats this much. And I was watching it, and when all those people went in the water, it dawned on me that everybody in the theater would have died,
Yeah.
because we were still under the number of people who froze to death in the water. I was like, that was a really scary, because we were setting up high, and I just could see the whole crowd, and I was like, we're all dead. We all died.
Well, and that's one of those movies too, when you're watching it, it kind of brings out that whole atmosphere around you, or like you feel the cold, like The Thing or Titanic, you feel like you're feeling it. And it's like, did someone turn down the AC, to make it actually feel like you're immersed in the movie?
That sounds like a James Cameron trick.
Or William Castle.
I must have just gotten to that movie way, way too late. I'm pretty sure that I've talked about this before, but Titanic did absolutely nothing for me by the time I saw it. What it actually did for me was so I had always heard about the Titanic, about how it was all about Leo getting what's her face, painting her naked and then trying to get her off the boat, right? What I didn't realize is that halfway through the movie, he got her off the boat. Like, he got her on a lifeboat. He succeeded in his mission. The hero's journey completed.
Yeah.
One. And then that dumbass jumped back on the boat. And at that moment, I literally paused the movie. I turned, I looked at my wife, and I said, "Are you kidding me right now?" She goes, "What?" I go, "She jumped back on the boat." She goes, "Yeah, she can't be separated from him." I'm like, no, this moment forward, this movie, this is bullshit. From that point in that movie, I was like, this whole movie is garbage. I don't understand what everybody got into. He succeeded at that. If it was me, if I was Leo, I'm turning around to Billy Zane in that moment and being like, "Hey, Billy, I tried. You got a plan?" And Billy Zane be like, "I got you, dude." And they would go over, he'd pay off, they'd get on their boat. And then the rest of the movie just should have been Billy Zane and Leo DiCaprio partying it up in New York while that, ship sank.
Flipping the heart of the ocean. Ooh.
Yes.
Saved me, man. It was close. I almost married her.
That's how that movie ended. I'm 5 stars all day long. I'll watch that movie on repeat 30 times. But the second she got back on the boat, I just stopped and was like, no. That's not what this movie is. Please don't tell me that's what this movie is. And then the whole rest of it. And, I only watched it like 3-4 years ago. I want to say it was the first time I ever finally sat down and watched it. So I don't know if it's just years and years of other cinema infecting my brain that I just missed out on the spectacle that was Titanic. But that movie, after having finally seen it for so long, it drove me nuts watching that. But thinking of Billy Zane though, for a great quote, Demon Knight, right?
Demon Knight, yeah.
Tears off the hat and he's like, ho dunk them there, motherfuckers. That's great. Demon Knight's good. And Billy Zane's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go back to the whole Titanic real quick. It's funny because I still like the theory that it's a time travel movie, because had Rose had actually committed suicide like she was planning to, the Titanic would have turned around and went to go find her because she's out in the water.
Would have missed the iceberg.
Yeah, so they would have missed the iceberg.
See, he could have just let her jump and saved all those people.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, and that goes into Ghostbusters too,
Where did she go?
Titanic.
I let it go. Another
which
quote.
is another quotable movie. Actually, both those movies are quotable. Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, I mean
The
we
first
walked
one
around-
more so, but
Yeah,
yes.
the first one we went around quoting that movie all the time, even inappropriately. You know, like when we used to have a game that we'd all play, try to insert a movie quote in the middle of a regular conversation, and just watch how you could break other people's trains of thought because they'd be like, "Did you?"
Did that a lot. Oh.
Did we start trying to do that right? Meow.
Meow. Yeah, meow near. Meow near. Meow. Meow near.
But
Okay, was it one of the Ghostbuster movies where the Titanic showed up in New York?
yeah, that was
Second
two.
one.
Yeah.
It was
Okay,
two,
yeah.
It's the guy at the dock. He's saying the Titanic has just showed up.
And Cheech Martin's all like, "Better late than never."
Dogs and cats living together.
Suffering from Carpathian kitten loss. He misses his kitten.
Yes, it is true. This man has no dick.
There's no dick. Yes, I mean, great. Those, I mean, I can't tell you, like, here's from a runoff from last week. I quoted ton of They Live. John
Yeah.
Carpenter movies had some of the greatest quotes and stuff in it, you know, and, you know, the whole idea of what Vince was saying, you know, I came here to chew
I've come here
bubblegum
to
and
kick ass
Kick ass.
and
just and chew bubblegum and
and I'm all
all out of bubblicious.
That's another one for me growing up. That quoting all the time. My cousin Vinny.
yeah,
My cousin Benny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yes.
mean the Spider-Man? That's where we met Uncle Ben for the first time.
yeah, exactly. Aunt May met Uncle Ben and
Uncle Ben, yeah.
Hmm.
How I Met Your Mother.
Dead on,
or like
balls
how I met
accurate.
your aunt.
Well, Uncle Ben didn't marry his aunt, you know. Oh, How I Met Your. Okay, I got you. I get different perspective of who's listening.
Insert name here.
On his fourth
Ah,
monster drink, by the end of this, he will vibrate right out of the screen. Because he'll be at his own
Oh,
frequency.
Is he gonna vibrate through the screen like what's her name, Sadako from the Ring movies? Is
Oh,
that
the
what
hell with that.
Oh.
If Colin starts trying to come through my screen like that, I'm shutting the screen.
Oh no, this isn't
Closing
Monster.
the screen.
No, this isn't Monster. This is Bud Light Seltzer.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Guaranteed to not have any alcohol in it. What's the point?
Basically, it's like taking the Warhead sour gum and soaking them in a little bit of alcohol. That's all it
You
is.
mean kind of like your Jolt Cola?
Oh, come on. We're not going to talk about the Joe Cola thing, are we? Okay, we're going to talk about it.
Where did,
yeah, that
where
would
did, where did Colin go? He
Thanks
drank
for
a Jolt
twisting
and he
my
just
arm.
teleported right on out of here.
I went on a bender of Joe Cola for 2 days, and I don't remember anything for that entire week, ever. I was told I was jumping off of all the furniture continuously for like 8 hours. I'd have to get Tony on because Tony would be the one who remembered.
Now, all I remember is one time you walked in, you had a Reese's pizza. Not Reese's pizza, you had a Reese's peanut butter. Where'd you get that? He goes, they're in my fridge. Can I have one? Yeah. And I walk in and it was like opening a treasure. You know, any movie where they open a case or something and it just this golden light comes out of it into your face and you all instantly have a suntan.
Oh.
And it was just like Reese's Pieces, Jolt Cola, and one other thing. And I was like,
Probably
holy,
Swiss rolls.
you're the reason I ended up with diabetes. It wasn't the beard or mustache, it was you.
remember you got to have the V8 too.
Oh, and the V8, yeah. Nothing, because you got to be drinking
was-
If
healthy.
you're gonna
after
drink
you
all that
just
nasty stuff, you
binged
gotta
on
have some stuff
garbage.
that's healthy.
It
That
all
was
counted
Grandma Jean.
4 pounds of sugar, one small 8-ounce can of V8. You got it. It's got to be balanced.
Well, yeah, but keep in mind how skinny we were back then. I mean, even you guys at that age.
Wow.
That was before we discovered gravity and everything doing. Boom.
I mean,
That's right. Just
Yeah, I remember when y'all were little one time, Alice was like, well, how did you get your, not Alice, Amber, sorry. Amber was like, how did you get your belly, Daddy? I said, well, I used to do a lot of jumping jacks. And I walked off at that moment. And I just went, I was like, I can't wait. Either Shirley or Donna, somebody's going to come back with that joke. It's going to come back around. It's got to. And she never told anybody. I was like, damn it. That's a waste of good material.
It was that was good.
Okay. So let's see. I know one of my dad's favorite quotes from The Thing is that when you gentlemen, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but when you find the time, I'd like to not to spend the rest of the evening when they're
tied to this fucking couch. Yeah, that is one of my favorite lines. Oh, and of course you used that. You got to be fucking kidding me. Yeah. Well, and think about and then Die Hard. Think about Die Hard. What he added to our
Yippee-ki-yay.
And
that became
even Mel Gibson. You know, getting too old for this shit.
That's not a quote. That was on the shirt.
What was it? Was it Danny Glover or Mel Gibson? I thought it was Danny Glover.
Danny Glover. Yeah, it was Glover.
Danny Glover.
And Lethal Weapon. I thought that was
and
Danny
Lethal
Glover.
Weapon. Yes. Yeah. And it was Mel Gibson, but it was because of everything that Gibson was doing. He was like, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Here's the other F-bomb. Break his fucking neck. Come on, Riggs.
Come on, Riggs. Yeah. Oh, the roller outside is frightful. That's what made it a Christmas movie, David. That's why it was a Christmas movie.
Well, no, and on top of the fact that
it was in the winter.
The Murtaugh family had a Christmas tree in their house.
Yes.
Wasn't it you that David? That someone said, "Is it a Christmas movie or isn't it?"
That was the Die Hard discussion.
Yeah, was it Die Hard? Yeah. Oh, it was Die Hard. Both of them. So is Die Hard a Christmas movie? It was up until the third one.
Yeah. Then they injected Samuel L. Jackson into it,
which gave it new blood. How do you go from adding?
Ron. Oh my God! Why did I just say that?
Samuel L. Jackson, into which it was the fourth one where they do the 4th of July. With the kid who is from Galaxy Quest and Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon.
All right.
How do you go from that? You know, we had this really kick-ass, but he died. The shark ate him, and then you go into Justin Long. I'm just waiting for McClane to shoot him in the car because he whined so much.
All right, I have to apologize to like everybody in the universe right now because I just somehow mistaken Jeremy Irons for Ron Jeremy, and
totally different movie,
a totally different category.
Movie sets and everything.
Jeremy, that was the Spoof movie you're thinking of with Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy's movie. He carries his own weapon.
I think we're going into Orgasmo, which is the only movie that I know that he was.
Oh my! I'm sorry for that.
To set up a joke at work, I went on a 15-minute roundabout way to get somebody to ask me what's a henway, and I knew that I could get her to do it, but she was always suspicious of me because she was like, "You're up to something." I said, "No, I'm telling." And I went to this long 15-minute, and I just drew everybody in the room in, and they were all listening and getting involved in and they were just, and I go, okay, it's perfect because she's really in, and then I said, you know, and I don't remember what the punchline was, but I said, and something with a henway. And she goes, She starts typing again. And she goes, what's a henway? And before I can get out 6 pounds, my boss, who has been in his office with the door open, starts laughing, and you hear him slam his hand in his desk, and he goes, "Oh, come on! You took us on this journey for that, just for that joke?" And then he walks out, and he goes, "And you? It's 6 pounds. That's the punchline." And he goes, "Everybody back to work." And he walks back in his office and shuts the door. And I must have glowed all day because I was grinning from ear to ear because not only did I get her, but I sucked everybody in the room into that one little thing. That's commitment.
That's commitment. That's commitment.
I think it's impressive. You know, my generation, especially a good portion of, you know, middle school into high school was when, you know, Adam Sandler blew up, right? And suddenly everybody's quoting Waterboy and
yeah, okay.
But all those movies, right?
Happy
became
Gilmore,
a whole thing for the longest time. Happy Gilmore of
Billy
why won't you
Madison.
go? Come on, Ball, go to your home. What? Are you too good for your home, Ball? You won't go home?
It's your home.
Suck my white ass ball.
Something's wrong with his avant-garde.
Tackling fuel.
Yeah, a lot of the Adam Sandler movies, there weren't many quotes, but the stuff that was quotable was very memorable.
Yes.
I will give it that.
Bob.
Wrong answer, Bob. Just the fight with Bob Barker is just classic.
Price is wrong, bitch.
Bitch.
That's right. That's right.
There should be a ticker. How many times have they said a cuss word at the bottom?
Yeah, Jesus. Man.
Now, that's another thing about the movie quotes too, about how many people know the quote but they can't get it exactly right.
Yeah.
It's
Or
like
you just give up.
misquoted
You said it,
songwriters.
or you've said it so many times that you're like, okay, I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
You know, you just kind of throw out there and it's not quite on. And that goes to those sticklers who like, it's actually this. And you're like,
Yes.
shut the fuck up. Oops, I did it again.
Ding.
I feel like Futurama when Fry was
you can
drinking
guess how many
coffee.
times we used the
Who was
F-bomb in
doing
this
the coffee?
episode. Accurately, we'll give you a prize.
How many F's are in this jar?
Quick trick bit is at the very end. We're all just gonna start singing the opening song from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
No, it's gonna be something from Monty Python.
Or
Yeah,
South
sorry.
Park, the movie.
Do you know the song from the opening of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? There's quite a few F words just coming out the gate in that.
You know what? I'm trying to remember it.
It's literally just a string of F words. It's very just.
All right, Vinny, you're gonna have to find it and put the bouncing ball over the lyrics.
Yeah, I know.
We'll do a sing-along
We'll
episode.
do that for another episode.
Oh, and
Smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers, beers. Rolling fatty, smoking. Sorry.
Here's yeah. Okay, yeah, sign it. I don't know all of it though. That's the thing. That is quotable if you know it all.
So,
oh, come on.
Jay and Silent Bob with Strike Back was the first Jay and Silent Bob movie that I ever watched, and that opening bit, I thought it was so damn funny. I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna memorize this for no apparent reason whatsoever. And so at random, it happens to this day. I'll just be walking around and thinking to myself, and then all of a sudden that song will just come drifting into the back of my head, and I'll start nodding my head along and just singing along because it's a nice little tune. You just put a nice little beat behind it. It's fantastic.
It's rewarding as a
That's
father
an idea.
to hear your daughter walk down the hallway of your house singing $20, little man, put that shit in my hand.
it's more stay in the motherfucking times, yo.
Oh,
But you know, we think a
Lives
lot
after
of
them.
other movies, but what about like Rodney Dangerfield movies? Back
yes.
in the 70s and stuff, man. I quoted tons of stuff from Caddyshack.
Oh
you know,
yes.
for years.
No.
No. That was usually the sign. Watch, I'm gonna go talk to this girl. No. You know,
It's a Cinderella story.
If you want to talk about just being able to manipulate a crowd with a quote, right? I think the biggest example and the easiest example to go through of manipulating a crowd with a quote is, it's definitely a Renfest. I haven't gone to a whole lot of Comic-Cons, but I imagine it's just as easy to trigger this as well. You just quote a single line from Princess Bride, right? All you
Yes.
have to
Okay.
say, my name is, and then a crowd of everyone within shouting distance of you will just somehow pick up on it, and instantly everyone will come in with Inigo Montoya.
Go Montoya. Yes.
no, I prefer to be the odd person. In quote Eminem, you know.
Yeah. Some music is
Slim
good.
Shady, and they're not even at the same time frame. That song didn't come out when it did. But at Renfest, we were at our compound one time, and this girl who's dressed up like Red Riding Hood kept crossing in front of it. And I was like, come on, guys, come on. Next time she comes by, we'll all start singing Little Hey There, Little Red Riding Hood. And nobody would do it. So she came by, and I said, pardon me, miss. Are you lost? Do you have somebody following you? And then she was like, she sat there, she just kind of looked at me. She was like, "Oh, look at the kind gentleman talking into me from up there." And I was like, "Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood." And then other people started picking up. Even my son started singing it off, who always tried to be, "I want to be with them, but I don't want to be with them." Start singing it. And then I hear it coming from downstairs in the compound. And then people in the crowd start singing. And we all serenaded her that entire song. And it was over with. She curtsied and she waved and she walked up, but she never came back around again. And they were like, "See what you did?"
Yeah. Ruined our daily view. Hey, Vince, I like your
man
headphones.
started singing to me, and everybody else started singing to me too, except for you were young back then.
What
Man,
now?
this is just shots fired the episode, talking about weight, talking about age, just all kinds of just barbs being thrown out here. I feel like it's open war. What's going on here?
Nobody's at war. Why are you feeling picked on?
Oh,
Trying to
come
think of a
on.
good quote that I'm thinking of a quote that fits into that.
Comments about how you're old, you're fat, out of debt, all that good stuff. I'm
I
just
looked in the mirror this
Self-deprecating
morning,
humor.
man. It's just I saw the mirror
just
this
kinda
morning.
gotta-
I gotta deal with the facts.
Yeah, we have to deal with the facts, man. I mean, I know that I've gained weight and stuff, and I'm fat, and I need to lose it.
That was the first thing.
Well,
I
wait a
ever
minute, wait a minute. Let
And
me
I'm
ask
looking
you,
like
did
my
you think
dad
I said,
now.
"Hey there, Little Fat Riding Hood"?
No.
I said
made
Little
a
Red
joke
Riding
about-
Hood. Just want to be clear. I just want to make sure that I'm pronunciating correctly on this thing.
No, you are.
Okay.
It was something your son said that I was just like, man, we're getting feisty on this episode. All kinds of cuss words, calling each other fat and old. It's getting pretty.
Yeah, whoever
pretty-
dropped that first F-bomb, that's just their fault. You blew the rating at that moment.
I'm the sound guy, so it's usually my fault.
There you go.
John Spartan, you've been fine.
Oh.
3.
My first quote was thinking of John Cleese. No, far too silly.
No,
So
but
again, back around. I used to love to do the parrot sketch all
Yes.
the time. You walk into a pet store. This parrot's it's dead. What? And they all come running over. It's not dead. It's dead.
It is an ex-pet.
It's expired.
that rabbit is dynamite.
No, and we used to do that one all the time
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's my favorite quote of Halloween. I used to do that on the phone all the time.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you mentioned Halloween because Travis asked me the other day. He said, "What movie started teens dying because they were having sex?" And I thought about it. He's like, "It's either Friday the 13th or Halloween." So I had to look it up, and we asked Google, and Halloween was first. So
Well,
then
Halloween, yeah, but
John Carpenter
I don't
started.
necessarily
but
mean
it was actually Friday the 13th that played up on it
On it, yeah.
more than
Yeah, it was
Halloween.
part of the lore.
the
Yeah.
lore. But all of them took the you could go back to Italian films or
Well,
films
let's
where
not do that.
a lot of it just seemed like if you have sex, a serial killer is going to break in your house and kill you in very horrible ways.
You're going to get skewered right through to the floor.
Power tools.
I was saying when you dipped out, Vince, that when you brought up John Carpenter, I thought you were gonna say Big Trouble in Little China.
I want to
Just
get
to
to
me-
that because there's a lot there.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Oh well,
there.
we were because I was saying he had said that, and I was like, yeah, the movie where the hero is actually the sidekick, but he's too dumb to realize it.
Fuck won't come out no more.
Yeah.
Just remember what old Jack Burton says: when the earth quakes and the poison arrows
Poison
fall from the
fall
sky
in
and
the
the
sky.
pillars of heaven shake. Yeah, Jack Burton just looks that big old storm right square in the eye and says, "Give me your best shot, pal. I can
I can
take it."
take it. Yep.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah. See, now that's John Carpenter quotable stuff. Halloween didn't really have a lot
No,
of quotes.
yeah, he there was a
It started
few-
later.
Yes, there's a few, and then most of them will revolve around Loomis anyway.
Well, and I mean, there was Lori come out and play. Yay! Oh wait, that's the wrong movie.
No,
No.
that was Warriors.
I know it was
Warriors,
Warriors.
Dad. I know.
I was
Look,
just
guys,
spinning it.
Now
We're
that would be funny though. Cross genre, Lori standing out there, Jamie Lee Curtis out there with
Curtis,
the beer bottle trying
Yeah,
to
very well.
Michael.
Oh, come out and play. Yay!
But guys, if we're going to be talking about quotable horror movies, the only person you could go to is Freddy. I mean, come
Obviously,
on.
yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Now
all
you're
that-
playing with power.
Those are amateurs. It's all about Freddy and the prime time bitch and
Yes.
this right? All that good stuff.
Yes, the Robert Englund stuff was phenomenal. Absolutely, you're right on that one.
That's the perfect marriage of, the horror movies and the one-liners we were talking about, right? That's where all of it came together in one glorious package of just absolute gory nonsense.
All right, David, let's go one further. What are your favorite quotes, or what are your most memorable quotes from the Freddy Krueger stuff, or from the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff?
I mean, the number one is the easiest, right? It just says it's prime time, bitch, right? That's the one that everybody goes to. That's the one everybody knows. Then the first lines I want to say Freddy said in any in the movies was whenever he was chasing her down and he cuts off his fingers and he's like, "This is God," right? Or is it? Yeah, "This is God," right? Is what he says. Man, it's been a while since I've seen that movie. Son of a bitch.
That is such a quotable moment.
It's just it was seeing that for the first time, right? It's that impactful moment of, it's not silly Freddy yet, it's him trying to be creepy Freddy, but
that's because Wes Craven's writing has humor, because you look at Scream,
Yeah,
but he was trying for a different genre, and it was England's ad-libbing
Yeah, that helped.
that really gave Freddy the who he eventually became.
right. He really enjoyed the character and really got into it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, no, go ahead.
now I'm playing with power, right?
Yeah, now I'm playing with power, the power glove. Yeah.
Power.
But I mean, if you're,
There should have been like 15 billion children running and just kicked the shit out of Freddy after he said that in the movie. It would have been so much better. I'll show you power.
was it in They Live? Hey there, little fella, come to show them where they am, huh? Not nice.
Not nice yet.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
You put these sunshades on right now. Or no, come on, that's not even the quote. It's
I don't think either one of us are in any condition to do. If there is something that one of us needs to share, I don't think there's.
It's tired to do anything about it anyway.
Either one of us can do anything about it. And then, of course, on my Facebook, my favorite quote is, "I know I'm human." And I know some of you are human, because, if all of you were one of these things, you'd attack me right now. I love that line. And that's my quote on the front of my Facebook.
right. Okay, here's one. A lot of my quotes and stuff like that aren't mainstream stuff. It's like secondary, third tier, like Jekyll and Hyde together again with Mark.
I got into so much trouble.
Fantastic movie. Okay, very few people ever know about it. He's a school teacher now. That's how disillusioned he became with Hollywood. He's a school teacher. Mark
And he was a comedian.
Yes.
The guy was a comedian. He was in
a lot of pedigree.
Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
He
He just had this phenomenal career, and then just kind of walked away from it all.
Right. But my favorite quote from Jekyll and Hyde together again is when he got to England, because they were having the awards ceremony. "Do you have anything to declare, sir?" And he says, "Yes, man has not evolved from an inch from the slime that spawned him."
Yeah.
And just walked on off, mic drop. And that was just such a great quote. To this day, I still use it.
I walked we lived in Holcomb at the time, and I remember going to the grocery store to get groceries with Vince's mom, and we walked by the speaker thing, and I was possessed by him. And I walk over to the thing, and I look around, and there's nobody here, and I tap on it, and I can hear it go tick tick, and I was, "It's alive." And I went, and everybody in the store turned and looked at me, and I was like, "What? Y'all haven't seen Jekyll and Hyde together again?" And I walk off, and one dude's like, "I did. It was a fantastic movie." I was like, "See, one person got it."
If you haven't seen that,
Donna's like, "We need to go. We're not buying groceries. Go. We need to go." I said, "No, we're going to buy our groceries."
That was one of the best. Absolutely. And another one,
Dad, with heavy metal.
Yes.
I used to quote a lot of heavy metal. Like when something was good. When something was good, you go, "Good Nyborg, man." which was the drugs and Harold Ramis's line from Heavy Metal.
Another movie I find myself quoting a lot of, Johnny Dangerously. Oh, come on, man. I mean, for you younger folks, these are movies you need to go find, because these are like defining moment movies for some actors' careers.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's not always Johnny Dangerously that's got the best quotes, but it's him
Joe
describing.
Piscopo, man.
You know, it's like the years hadn't softened Maroney. He continued to murder the English language and anyone else who got in his way.
You farting ice hole.
Yeah,
I
he's coming
fucking
up.
kill you. You son
Says
of
he's
a-
not from there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh no, it didn't. I mean,
I wouldn't
Joe
hang me on a
Piscopo's
hook,
like,
Johnny.
Don't.
There you go.
Yeah, don't,
Joe Piscopo, man, one of his best movies. Absolutely.
don't slap me, Johnny. Don't fuss me, Johnny. My mother did it only once. Yeah, those lines. And then I always wanted a
Screwball
handicap sign. I wanted the handicap sign. You
Yes.
Sounds
Yeah.
like Johnny's getting laid.
know?
Yeah.
This has been around, man.
Yes, man. I
New York.
was thinking about it. Michael Keaton and Danny DeVito have done 2 movies together where they were opposing characters.
Mhm.
And
Johnny
Batman.
Dangerously and Batman. Batman Returns.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why didn't they play off of that more? Because I started really thinking about that like that. The two of them have such a dynamic together. You know, it's like, play ball. He's trying to get Johnny Dangerously to be on the bribe and stuff like that. And they didn't do anything with that at all in Batman Returns.
And then there were a lot of things that'll stick with you, like the elephantitis old medical reel when he's trying to convince his brother not to have sex.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
you going? I'm going back to school.
Cool. But think about that, like Romancing the Stone. How many of you guys have seen Romancing the
Oh,
Stone? Or the
yes.
sequel. Those had quotes that
There were a
you
lot of
know,
good stuff in there.
good quotes in it for a long time, but they become dated kind of. So,
Yeah.
it falls off. But like having Danny DeVito come out of a trash can telling you about what it's like to be in prison where everybody wants to be your proctologist was just cracked me up. And I used to use that all the time. My brain isn't what it used to be. I can't do the quotes, but I can remember them. I have a disconnect between what's in the brain and what comes out of my mouth.
And that's the
Right.
thing, because that's all I did. I watched movies and played games back in the day. So it's like I just stored all this information in my head. And it's like computer stuff and everything else just goes, all that knowledge that you had just goes out your head. So
It's like the movie War of the Roses with Michael Douglas and
Douglas, yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy, was it?
Kennedy. Yeah, same
With
ones
Kat-
from Romancing the Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of good stuff in there, but because it just got pushed to the side, it's one of those things where if you go back and watch it, you'll automatically remember,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, I remember that. It's like the whole scene around the chandelier falling, and all of a sudden there was also
that was me and my ex towards the end of our thing. We were those two on the chandelier where,
Wasn't Danny DeVito in that too?
yes, he was the attorney.
Yes, okay.
He was trying to keep their marriage together. But, even movies there are so many things that people pick up on and they don't realize it. Like, how many times you heard me say, do you understand the words coming about my mouth? Nobody understands the words coming out of my mouth. I've heard people that just don't even look like they would ever watch a movie like that quote something like that. And you're like, once it's out there, it becomes part of the lexicon. And
Yes.
it becomes part of societal memory. And then even if it's a misquote, I mean,
You still
Beam
know.
Me Up, Scotty never got, that whole line that everybody quotes for Shatner, which was never said. It's close to something that was said, but people repeat it so often, it becomes truncated down to its purest form.
Right. Absolutely.
So I can get into movies that I can quote like normal, besides John Carpenter stuff, whenever. But I want David and Chris to add something in here real quick before.
Yeah.
Yeah, hurry up, guys. Chop, chop.
Jeez, Dad.
I'm surprised it's been this long, but one does not simply talk about quotable movies.
Oh, beautifully done.
I mean, that whole trilogy, it's just
the
full
Academy Award goes to.
That's brilliant.
But yeah,
Chris is
the,
that-
the,
that-
the whole
that-
Lord of the Rings trilogy. I mean,
Thank you, sir.
there's so much to quote there. There's the whole loader memes that spawned off of it.
Exactly.
And it's like, us normal people that watch Lord of the Rings 4 or 5 times a year, the director's extended 4K cut. It's like these lines just like resonate with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lord of the Rings definitely for me is one that I quote those lines all the time.
I think the movie that I absolutely quote the most, and especially to my kids, is I've got about 4 or 5 quotes from Major Payne that just I will always just pull them out at random moments with the kids, right? Starting with all the way back in the day when they'd be hurt, I'd be like, "You want me to show you a little trick? Take your mind off that pain? Give me a hand." Right. My daughter actually had at one point, she was terrified of something in her closet, and so I just told her, I was like, "Don't you worry, sweetie. Daddy will take out that bad man in your closet with extreme prejudice, and if he's still in there, he ain't happy." Right? Just you want me to tell you a story about the little engine that could again? Boy, I'm about to be on you like white on rice and a glass of milk and a paper plate in a snowstorm, just like all day, man. I love that movie. Damon Wayans, that whole thing.
Man,
It's great.
he's
And
had a lot
again,
of cool stuff.
I just always busted out on the kids. It's good times to the point where
It's
even now
good. It's good time. I remember abusing my children. It was good
that's
times.
right. I mean, look,
Good
the one,
time.
if I'm being honest, the one I use on the most is I'm about to put my foot so far up your ass that the
Yes.
water on my knees going to quench your thirst. But it's fine.
I used a variant of that. I don't remember where I heard it. I put my foot up your ass so far that it's going to need its own zip code. And it's a quote from something else. I don't remember where it's from, but I used that once or twice.
So one that I've added recently, I say recently, it's been in like the last 2 years, and I don't know why I thought of it, but from Austin Powers, my daughter was asking me something, and I got tired of telling her no to whatever it was she was asking me, and so for some reason Austin Powers drifted into my brain, and I just turned and I looked at her. I was like, "How about no, Scott? Just how about no? How about no?" So I just started now, instead of just telling her plainly no, but how about no, Scott? To the point where she'll finish the quote for me before I get there. I just say, "How about no?" I just go, "How about?" And then she goes, "No, Scott, I'm gonna go talk to Mom," and goes right on.
Yeah. See, that's how that breaking that chain is important. Just going to carry that on. There's going to be one of your great grandchildren going, "Where the hell did that come from? Why do you say that to him?"
So
Something my great grandfather once told his told me.
well, it's just like what is it? Freaking what was the movie with Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale? The
Rain of Fire.
Yeah, Rain of Fire, and how they're pretending to be.
That wasn't a movie.
It was a move.
There was a reenactment of what's going to happen in an alternate future.
I used to tell my kids when we would watch something like that. This was like when I was younger. You're lucky.
Yeah.
These are all documentaries from my past.
But so for me, the biggest things are like Aliens, a lot of James Cameron stuff,
Yeah.
Aliens,
Game over, man. Game
Terminator,
over.
but even like Arnold Schwarzenegger with the whole thing of like Commando, this Green Beret is gonna kick your ass. I eat Green Berets for breakfast.
Yeah. You know what? I have a friend. You know who Johnny is, and he's an ex-Marine, and he quotes that stupid thing all the time.
Yeah. Or remember when I told you I'd kill you last, Sully? Yeah, you did, Matrix.
That's right, Matrix. You did.
I
lied. What happened to Sully? I let him go.
Please don't bother my friend. He's
He's dead tired.
He's dead tired.
That's another thing that's quotable. Sometimes where people break into song and stuff like that, like Tom Arnold in the movie The Stupids, where he did the song "I Am My Own Grandpa."
That on Grandpa, yeah.
But what else you got?
I always wanted to do I always believe that life would be so much better if it were a musical. I just want to be walking down the street and hearing what's the song from Blues Brothers with Ray Charles? Do 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 do. Where he's trying to convince him to buy the keyboard. I don't see that. There's something wrong with the play in this keyboard. Do, do, do. Yeah, he starts playing. There's nothing wrong with the play on this keyboard. We'll take it. But that whole dance, the boogaloo,
Hey, baby,
whatever
what I say.
No, not that one. No.
That's what he did in the Ray's Music Exchange.
No, it's the one where he's like,
hey, hey.
No, me and Amber sing the song every time, all the time when we're on a trip. It is the one where he's the so I heard you talking just the other day, talking about the boogaloo.
Oh,
Didn't you think to ask me or something like that? Show you what I can do. And then he does the whole dance song, and then everybody in the street
is dancing.
Breaks out into a dance. I want to be walking down the street someday and just see everybody break into a dance number. You know, I'm not going to be one of those idiots out there just staring. I'm going to hobble my little ass on in there with my cane and try to keep up with everybody. You know, I mean, if you can survive going to a country western place and never once having line dance and get drugged onto the dance floor and survive looking like an absolute idiot because you don't know any of the steps, you can survive anything.
Yeah.
And that actually happened to me. I actually was going to get a drink and go back to the table where I was, and two of the girls on the dance floor dragged me into the dance floor. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know. And they were like, just follow us, and we were dancing. But it was kind of easy to pick up. But I was just like, oh yeah, life would be so much better if it was a musical.
Yeah, or if you
it would only be cool. It would only be cool if it was like everybody brust out into a song from Little Shop of Horrors. Come on.
Yes, and that's another quotable movie.
Yeah, it's very quotable.
But so, yeah. So you have aliens, right? You know, so it's like, Nuke the Cipher Morbid.
I don't see anybody else screwing. You don't see anything else screwing. Humans are like the worst. You don't see them. You don't see any other animals screwing over people.
You don't see them fucking each other over for percentage.
And there's that F word again. Ding! I was trying not to do that.
And then, you know, it's like, was it? This little girl survived all by herself. Why don't you
let her take charge? Put her in charge. Yeah. She survived for 6 months.
Game over, man. Game over.
I think he likes you, Bishop. Or was it Gorman? Who was it? It was Gorman that was looking at the thing and it attacked Burke. And he reaches over and goes, I think he likes you. When the tongue's like the proboscis is hitting the glass, like, yeah, I want that mouth. He sure got a pretty mouth. Name that movie. Ding 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 ding.
Deliverance.
And then, you know, Terminator, the first one.
No, it was Deliverance. Whoever said that was right.
I got
It wasn't Terminator.
He said it.
I'm just joking. Yeah.
I waited. Hey, buddy, you got a dead cat in there? Fuck you, asshole. I'm sorry.
Ding.
There goes the word again.
You need to go back before you post this and put a counter. Put a counter.
I know. You know, and then like, I'll be back, which is the most quotable line.
Give them to me.
Nice night for a walk, eh? Nice night for a walk.
Good walk.
Nothing clean, right? Nothing clean, right? Your clothes, give them to me.
What does he say? I can't let you take the man's gear.
That's in 2, yeah.
Yeah, and 2. You let him take his underwear and his clothes and his friggin' gun.
Everything else.
But you're not gonna let him take the damn motorcycle? Give me them glasses.
What else? You know, another movie too that is quotable that, you know, we really haven't touched on is actually it's 2 movies, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
Okay.
I'm good, Ash. No, I'm bad.
I'm bad. I'm good, Ash. Goody too.
Good, bad. I'm the
guy with the gun.
This is my boomstick. Yeah. or
Baby, you got real ugly.
That's smart.
You said, "Oh, baby, that was just pillow
top of the
talk."
line model?
You said you love me. We'd be
You
together
got
forever.
real ugly.
I'll swallow your soul. Come
Yeah,
get
listen
some.
up, you primitives.
Love you, primitive screwheads.
Another thing, Vinny, that's come as a result of the movie quotable stuff, games.
Yeah.
You know, over the years, games have gotten real quotable stuff like Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
Very much, you know, oh, blow it out your ass. You know, things like that.
You see, but they stole that from my dad.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, but it was an, you know, it
Yeah.
was an inspiring thing. You know,
Yeah.
the next generation to try and take up the mantle, at least.
I think games owe their a lot more to movies and what they
What
They
they're
claim-
willing to acknowledge. Yes.
acknowledge. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that.
Well, then you can look at the Matrix, where it's the other way around. So that owes a lot to anime and video games for its
For
influence.
its style.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because every once in a while, movies will come back and claim their throne.
Yes.
You know, and then somebody will come along and say, okay, let's take that and do this. And then it's like a seesaw.
Okay. So I just get a quick question for everybody. What do you think is the most quotable movie?
Hmm.
I would say Tombstone.
I'm your Huckleberry.
That's close.
Why, whatever do you mean?
Oh, come on, you can do it. You just
You know
what is it,
Daisy. You know Daisy at all.
He's just too high strung.
dead high strong. Yeah.
I
Why-
would say,
Why
my
do you sound like a southern pedophile?
You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me.
Where's Wyatt? Down by the river?
Down by the
Walking on
river.
water?
That is one of my all-time favorite lines from that. Man, love Val Kilmer.
for
the,
me, go ahead, Vince. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, probably one of the most notable and quotable movies for a couple of lines would be Poltergeist.
Mm.
They're here, and this house is clear.
This house is clear.
They're here has got to be one of the most quoted things that I've personally ever heard. Because people will say it for just about anything.
Yeah, I think it's okay. So we rank it. Tombstone has about 5 quotes, that, and then
There's more than
Poltergeist
that.
maybe 3 if
It's definitely
lucky.
top 5.
Yeah. So
So Tombstone and Poltergeist would be top 5. As far as like overall quotable movies, Tombstone and Poltergeist would probably be in there. But I know that there's something that's probably
If you're looking back in time, I mean, like think about it, like at least up to just Aliens itself is quotable. The whole movie,
absolutely
the whole movie is quotable.
right. But
Gee,
thing
Sarge,
is-
would you fetch my slippers? No, you want to fetch your slippers? Gee, Sarge, would you? No.
Yeah.
Hudson,
I mean-
get over here.
thing is, that's more for the actual fandom base.
Yes.
Absolutely a quotable movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking of movies where it
When you hear
transitioned
the
not over
words,
from, gonna use that horrible word lexicon again. Once it's used so often, it becomes part of our vocabulary. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
I don't mean so much stuff that is genre based that people will quote because it's their favorite movie or genre. I'm talking about something that is
like
really made that jump
the I'm your Huckleberry. You hear that all
the time. Yeah.
You know, they're here all the time. Absolutely, those are 2 of the top 5 as far as my thinking goes at the moment.
Well, because there's another question too that I want to ask after this of like movies that are quotable for you alone and the people who you know that watch the movie with you.
Okay.
Those movies that like
Well, let's finish answering the other
Yeah.
one first before you
Well,
redirect us, 'cause
okay.
I want to hear David's and Colin.
Well, Vinny, real quick, Terminator could easily be in the top 5.
at least the first one. I mean, the second one has a lot of quotes as you can down for it,
Yeah.
but
I'll be back.
the impact that one had on the film industry in people in cinema and everything is very high. So
Right. So yeah, I mean, all the words "I'll be back."
mhm.
That's mainstream lexicon, has been since the movie came out. So that's clearly top 5 as far as as my thinking goes. What about you, David?
I mean, I was kind of gonna lean towards that with Terminator because I don't know. I guess I've never really paid that close of attention to how much actually gets, drawn into popular parlance, right? In terms of language. But I mean, yeah, I would definitely say Terminator was the one that I know of that people even outside who hadn't even seen it, right, would have known. And
They know the line, yes.
and they know the line. They don't know where it comes from, but they at least
They
know
know
the
the
line.
line, yeah. And
Yes.
that's what I was talking about.
Exactly.
People, once it's used so often that people may not know its origins, but they use it. I don't know.
I have another one. Princess Bride. We were
Well, I
talking
haven't
about that
even
earlier.
Montoya yet.
My name is
Killed my
Inigo
father.
Montoya.
The first Turtles movie.
First Turtles movie.
Well, there are words. There's a difference. Like
Well,
Cowabunga, everybody picks that up
Yeah,
on.
well, I mean,
But
Exclamation.
Turtles didn't just carry that on. The Simpsons helped carry that word on too.
no, but I mean, you look at like everybody makes the joke about wise man say never pay full price for late pizza, or
You should tell that. I want you to tell that to the next guy who delivers Domino's and see if he gets it.
David, what?
I said that's less the movie and more of just that string of jokes that everybody made with playing on Confucius sayings.
Well, and I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's based off of movies that are mostly really quotable. Like they have things in it that are so.
I just thought of The Godfather. I'm gonna make you an offer that you can't
You
refuse.
can't refuse.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's another top 5.
Right there.
Okay, so that's 4.
Took me a second.
Casablanca.
Maybe, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
With
another
all
one
the
of those
gin
quotes.
joints.
Yes, that is very
That's another one of those movies that has a quote that's not in the movie. That if there's something in it that is similar, like you played it for him, you can play it for me. He never comes up and says play it again, Sam. He never says that, but everybody knows what that's from and what
Right.
it means.
But that is actually that's a very good contender right there.
Well,
I'm
Matrix.
really torn.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I don't think
Oh,
we're in
we aren't in
Kansas
Kansas anymore.
That right there.
Yeah, that's become a turn of we're into the weird wilderness.
Yes.
Well, same thing with the Matrix.
Well, honestly, the Matrix might be a good contender too, because the line alone, Mr. Anderson,
Mhm.
makes its way into a lot more,
Mr.
popular.
Anderson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That way that makes its way into popular culture a lot. It's not necessarily the line, it's the delivery. Like They Live would come into that category now.
They live, yeah.
I've come
David,
here
what
to
were-
chew bubblegum and kick ass.
What were you suggesting, David?
I was just saying back to we're not in Kansas. I think I would contend that We're Not in Kansas Anymore is the most utilized because it gets used in all forms of pop culture. It's been
Exactly.
around the longest, right? I mean,
Right.
that is so deeply ingrained into the lexicon at this point that I would say that's probably number one in terms of both of those.
Right. Okay, I could agree with that.
Or even like There's No Place Like Home. That's another Wizard of
That's
Oz.
another
quote.
one. Yes.
That ends up on T-shirts.
Welcome.
If I only had a brain. Believe it or not.
Heart.
Yeah, but people will quote certain parts of the songs, which
Yes.
ties back to what we were talking
Well,
about.
and
earlier.
that's the difference because those are song lyrics. Or
Right.
there are sometimes songs that also do the same thing, and it's not the
Exactly.
whole song; it's just part of the song that we.
Yeah, you'll pull one line from it, and that'll be the quote.
Yeah.
Which is what I was getting at earlier, because sometimes the songs in the movies have just as much an impact. Especially for musicians, like me and stuff like that. Sometimes the music will have just as much an impact as the lyrics and the music and everything as the actual lines themselves. So
Yeah.
people will pull the first one or two lines, and boom, that's their quote. That's their hallmark moment.
Yeah, for me, I think it's any time that you hear a quote from something that you hear out of context, but you understand where it came from instantly pops
Yes.
into your head. And sometimes made its way into the even our common language. There are a lot of stuff that came out of Star Trek that went over into the science realm.
Yes.
Scientists quoted or use it, and it became actually technical term, thanks to like Arthur C. Clarke and other writers and people. There's always going to be a fun quote that is perfect for a certain situation.
Not to mention the end of Star Trek 1, Spock. He was very quotable.
Which Star Trek 1?
No, the
original series?
Yeah,
or
no,
the remake movie?
The first movie.
Oh,
man, where he's talking through the
needs of the mini.
Yes.
Well, that's the second movie. That's with Khan, right? When he talks about that, or does he say that in the?
Was that the first one or the second?
The first one was with V'ger.
Yes. Okay.
And Star Trek Motion Picture.
Okay, so the third one was the search for.
And I mean, Bones had the greatest, most memorable lines from the very first movie. Like he wants to meet the creator. He's in for a hell of a wait. Your child is having a temper tantrum. Yes. When he's telling Spock, because V'ger's like angry because the creator won't come before him. Your child is having a temper tantrum. Yeah. Or David like Jim whenever he tries to bluff V'ger and V'ger calls his bluff, and Bones kind of leans over and goes, "He learns quickly, doesn't he?" Those kind of comments are also that they're the audience talking, and you're in a way you break the fourth wall with those kind of comments to give of a question that the audience is thinking, or a comment voice within the film, but from somebody most relatable. Everybody wants to be Kirk, but we're all really more Dr. McCoy because we're all a bunch of smartasses.
That's another aspect of it. Sometimes you have a show or a movie that the quote isn't always memorable, but it's the character and the delivery of it. It's like Deadpool. You can't remember really a lot of the lines from Deadpool, but the fact that he's delivering it so deadpan and breaking the fourth wall, that's what you start to remember about it.
Well, all I know about Deadpool is no unicorn is safe around him. I think I got the biggest reaction out of David on there. What's that saying about David? I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't order pizza. No, I did.
I like, now that you said that, I have to go back to Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Okay.
It had a lot of quotable moments.
Yes.
Great soundtrack. And my favorite lines came out of Mr. Hand and Spicoli and their interaction with each other. Like, well, I've felt since this is our time, I'm just here in your class and I'm hungry. I'm just going to eat some pizza on our time. And he was like, that's a good idea. And then he goes around and the teacher, Mr. Hand goes around and hands all the pizza he just ordered to everybody else in the classroom but him. And he's like, you dick. No, that was when he tore up his
yes,
the schedule. And everybody's had that teacher where you walk in the classroom, you're late because you're like trying to decipher this Egyptian hieroglyphs on here that tell you where to go in the school that has no map, like you're in some Indiana Jones movie, and you walk in 2 seconds late and the teacher's like, go into the office. But to take it from, oh yeah, I see you dick, that. And that is most quotable. How many times have anybody, you're a dick, that is now let's see if we can get that. Let's see if we can say that one more time. Dick Grayson.
Dick. Dick.
So
it was Dick Jones.
Dick Jones.
All right, and that's another legacy thing that I'm thinking about. When it comes to quotable stuff, it transitions back to the small screen for stuff like South Park.
South Park is
Both-
in a universe all to its own, man.
Right, but they get their draw from the old school stuff, and they figured out that yes, you can have a lot of stuff and you can tell really bizarre stories, but at the same time, if you have a catchphrase or a good tagline or a memorable quote, it will definitely propel you. And they're
It will
about to go
obey
into
my
the,
authority.
screw you guys,
Well-
I'm going home.
And think of Smokey and the Bandit. How many
Yes.
lines came out of that from Jackie Gleason? You know.
Yes, Jackie Gleason knew how to deliver a line. Absolutely.
Ain't no way you come from the fruit of my loins.
Lines.
That
When we get home, I'm
reminds
gonna
me,
smack
I gotta
your
call
mama
your
on the
mama
mouth.
later.
Vince used to quote that all the time. You used to quote that
I know.
for years. That
Anytime
reminds
somebody
me.
did something that I was like, you know, I'd start using those lines from him because he
Absolutely.
was always poking fun at the genetics of his son.
Look, Daddy,
That's
there's an
your mom.
alligator. That reminds me. I
Reminds
need
me.
to call your
Call your
mama.
mama later.
And you used to quote that line all the time for
Yeah.
years. That was one of your big ones. I remember that now.
Well, the biggest thing, like, we haven't talked
Ow,
about
to the moon, Alice.
Eddie Murphy with, like, Beverly Hills Cop.
Okay. Another strong contender.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a lot of Eddie Murphy stuff is pretty quotable if you go back
Yeah.
and really look at it as a whole. And that comes again down to a good line versus great delivery. It's one of those things. Like most people will quote stuff from his movies, but his comedy specials people quote more. Say, boy, you look mighty good in them jeans. Things like that. Back from the Raw comedy special.
If I'd be here when you come back if I didn't hear my mama calling me. We're gonna go around the block. Expect all y'all to be gone when we come back around. Wait till the cop gets out of your sight. I'm
Which
gonna
you
be
live
here
in
when
real
they come
life.
back. I ain't leaving. I'm gonna be right here when that comes back. I ain't scared. Nobody's running me off. I tell you right now to your face that if I'd hear my mama calling me, I'd be right here when they got back. God, man. And just on a side note, just the fact that we will never see comedy and quotes and things like that again,
Ever again.
if society stays on its trajectory right now.
That is very true. I mean, in this day and age where everybody is offended so easily. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a very good point. I mean, it just, basically we've entered the golden age of comedy. Where
Now-
at this point, the stuff, you go all the way back to the Marx Brothers. If, some people can really quote Marx Brothers stuff up and down all day long, but that was a different time. Then you got
or Three
Get into
Stooges. Wise guy. That has been around longer than anything else. The sad part is that today people use anything they can to put forth in a certain type of agenda. So they find something that they can link to something else and then push it. We talk about a lot of games on here, but when I was growing up and when we were in school, remember how bad Dungeons and Dragons was treated by adults?
absolutely.
And where you were like a devil worshiper, child eating something just because you played
Yeah.
D&D, and you'd be like, man, have you ever played it? I don't need to play it. I know. Oh, okay.
It's still treated like that in some circles. That's the
Video games.
sad thing.
There's people that like view Pokemon and other video games as the devil, and it's like, come on, guys. If you actually knew what it was, understand what it is, instead of like, it's foreign to me, it's an alien, I need to be against it, it's gonna come and corrupt my stuff.
I can go one off of that because the Pokemon Go game, okay? Our church here in town has not one, but two spots in both of our parking lots where you can go and get characters from Pokemon. And our pastor rails on it endlessly. and he's got people all it's demonic, it's satanic, it's you should see some of the characters that they have to go after and stuff like that.
Can you
And I
imagine?
kind of cringe on it.
You see some guy sitting in his car playing Pokemon Go.
Yes.
And some little kid walks up at the window and taps on him. He goes, what's the matter? He goes, you're in the parking spot. You got to put something in the offering plate.
Well, and then you
Okay, here's a dialogue, and then the window goes up and he goes back to playing. It's like that commercial you see where the guy goes to get squeegee his window, and the guy goes, "You getting gas?" He goes, "No, I'm just going to use your squeegee." Oh, well, gas comes with the squeegee. You mean no squeegee, no gas? No gas, no squeegee. And you're like, okay. And that brings me around again. Like, we've got History of the World Part 2 coming around, right?
Yes, I'm so looking forward to that.
There's no way it's going to be as funny as the original because it has to be self-censored. We're going to offend somebody, and we probably won't even make it through the first. It's going to be it's going to be a series, so it's episodic with different. Yeah, so
but
somebody's going to get offended.
Exactly, but it's Mel Brooks at it.
I know.
Yeah,
I have faith in it, and then Mel Brooks has held on this long, and he has not compromised on his principles, and what he knows is funny, and what he's time tested. Yes, people are going to be offended by it, but at the same time, I think all of the old school fans is what's going to make that thing.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be the younger crowds. I think it's going to be the older crowds standing up for it. That's going to help hold it in place. And I know that I personally,
it can't be worse than the Coming to America sequel. So
I never saw it. Didn't care.
It had so much potential. It had its moments, but you're like,
it waited
what
too
happened
long.
Here? What? Oh no, there were some scenes.
It's bad when you have the biggest trope for your movie as your movie. It's like or the.
No, you had it right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you're gonna do a thing, it's like, oh yeah, he has an illegitimate son, blah blah blah. It's like you could have come up with something better.
Could have come with so much more.
Yeah,
I mean, become fat and bloated and everything that he wasn't meant to be. Another movie trope, but it still would have worked better than what.
I think it would have been fun to see him come back to America and then play upon how much we've changed since the first movie was made, which was supposed to be in the modern times of that period. So then you have him come back, and then it becomes a satire of how much we're no longer what we were just 20, 30 years ago. That would have been, I think, pretty funny. And there was a lot of jokes.
And
that
Eddie
could have been
Murphy would have
made.
worked with that. Arsenio Hall could have worked with that too. I think the two of them absolutely could have made that proper.
Yeah.
That would have worked, in my opinion. Yes, absolutely. I mean, anything other than what they did.
And while we're saying that, let's go through another roundtable. What movie recently came out that you find has quotes in it that is quotable, if any?
Oh, good grief.
a lot of dead air here. I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't seen the new Spider-Man, so No Way Home. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be tons of stuff in that movie that's going to be quotable.
Okay, so quote something from the last Spider-Man.
I was about to say a lot of the superhero stuff.
It would just be Mr. Stark would be the quote from those movies.
The only thing that I can come up with in the past 5 years of, say, Marvel movies alone would be I Am Iron Man. When he did it for the last time when he took out Thanos.
Well,
Oh yeah, but see, that's not, to me, that
Hulk
was a
would be
more dramatic
God.
moment.
I mean, there's other things that have come out that
I mean, and I don't mean just throw out everything. I mean, what movie have you seen that has a quote in it that you think will be still around in 20, 30 years? I haven't seen one.
Neither have I. I've finally got caught up on a lot of my stuff, and there's nothing. I mean, okay, it's been more popcorn entertainment than something that sticks with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's been for me. And
I mean, and that's another thing too, is it's rewatchable material.
Right.
Most of the time when you watch this stuff, it's like you got the gist of it. There's nothing deep into it that you want to watch it again to like see the things you missed. And so, which are the things that help you make the movie quotable?
Exactly. Yes.
You know, I'm trying to think. I mean,
I got
You
nothing.
know what? You know what? Hold on. That's going to stick around the lexicon for a while. Martha.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I could see that being a potential.
Yeah.
Martha, my dear. That
What?
is, it's only remembered because it's the worst
What did you say her
effing
name?
writing in history. Your mother's named Martha. My mother's named Martha. We could be brothers. Let's
We're
start
best friends,
fighting.
right? Does this make us best friends?
Yeah, it's like
And the fact that Superman and Batman couldn't hold a freaking conversation. If they'd have
Yes.
held one single conversation, that movie would have been over.
Yes.
Why are we fighting? I don't know. I'm angry. But Bruce, how do you know I'm Bruce? I can see through your mask.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Note to self: put lead lining in my mask.
It's like the whole saying, who would win, Superman or Batman? Superman can shoot lasers out of his eyes from orbit.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think if you can't, there's no answer. Well, you know what? Batman will live in a lead box. All right. Well, I'll nuke the lead box.
Right.
If
I can
Superman-
scan the entire planet and there's one little place I can't see, that's probably where
Or
Bruce
Batman,
is.
yeah.
yeah, Batman is. Well, it's like he could literally be sitting at the Daily Planet and be like, okay, looking through everything in the world and goes, yep, there's Bruce Wayne. Psst. There's no more Bruce Wayne.
Right.
We could just snipe him from where he's at.
Or just wait till he's like in the shower. Go. And Alfred has to chisel him out of the ice block.
And that's when Mr. Freeze comes up and goes, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
Here's a cease and desist order from my attorney. You're infringing upon my shtick.
Out of all the DC stuff, if anybody was going to be quotable and memorable, you'd think it would be Jason Momoa. But so far,
Aquaman.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, other than the grunts and noises,
They haven't given him enough material to work with to build his character.
right?
Give me a break. Two of the strongest men on the planet, two of the people who are most invulnerable, one because they were raised in the depths where an empire, something the size of the Empire State Building on every square inch of your body, pressure every day of your life, and you're going to put you in armor. And Superman's in armor. Superman needs armor. Batman needs armor.
Yeah.
Superman don't need nothing but his underwear. He can fly around and
He needs armor with
whitey tighties, and nobody would care as long as he was saving people.
Just put him in a body sock, it's fine.
Actually, you know what? I think that's actually an interesting thing, right? Like, so we went through the most quotable superhero movies to me are the horribly cheesy, god awful one, like those Batman ones, right? Like all the horrible ice puns by Schwarzenegger in that movie.
That's because it was Schwarzenegger.
Those quotes than I can think of any quote from the Michael Keaton Batman movies, right? So
you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Yeah, or I'm Batman.
He's nuts. I'm Batman. Where does he get all these wonderful toys?
It goes back to just so much of it goes down to line delivery, right? Whether or not it hits the zeitgeist at a right time. Mm-hmm. So I mean, yeah, like a lot of this, because like right now, movie is so much more spectacle than it is, anything in terms of dialogue, right? Like I remember when Tarantino was making all his early stuff, and that's all anyone talked about was, oh man, the dialogue in these movies is great. It kind of bled a little over into the Robert Rodriguez stuff with like, are you a Mexican or a Mexican, right? Like just little stuff like that, got little nuggets that got sprinkled in, and it's just. I mean, I know we've kind of talked about it off and on before, but I'm sure there's stuff that's out there in smaller movies and all that we just haven't quite gotten around to, and it'll probably start smaller than it used to. Yes. And with the internet the way that it is, and how everybody just kind of gets into their little cells, right? Like each little cell is going to have their quotes. I don't know if we'll ever hit a point where there's just it's like not everybody sits around and watches, the same TV show every night and talks about it the next day, right?
Mhm.
There is no Dallas anymore. There's some people watching
The
Yellowstone.
waterfall
There's
top.
some people watching Game of Thrones for the first time. There's some people. It's this scattershot of so much.
Right.
And I think,
Well, and you know what's
I think that might be more than anything of it, right? It's just that there is so much varied content out there that you're just constantly being bombarded with all this information that it's hard to really narrow, unless you're just one of those people that focus it, or you just have a narrow focus on a specific area. You're
Right,
not going to
genre.
absorb as much
well,
in
and,
terms
and
of
the flip side of that is like everything in society now is around confirmation bias, for lack of a better word. We only watch those things that fit us and what we want to hear and what we believe. And now it's happening with our entertainment, whereas before everybody saw the same thing. Everybody got to go see a movie. Now with streaming services, you don't have to watch those things you don't want to watch or don't interest you, and then it limits your exposure to something new. And not everybody can afford to pay for a streaming service, and so we are self-segregating to a point of ridiculousness, even down to the music and the movies and the books and entertainment we watch.
Right.
So I want to go back real quick because I know it's a deeper conversation out there, right there, but most quotable movie for us growing up that was a Marvel movie would be Howard the Duck.
Yes, I loved Howard the Duck. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Filzy.
All right, Vince, what do you think of the new Howard Duck that they're the CGI stuff?
I'm not Jennings anymore, Howard.
If you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen.
Stay out of the kitchen. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry.
And now Jeffrey Jones has gotten himself into trouble, and
Yeah.
all the stuff he says looks even creepier.
Well, stick around long enough, we all become the villain of our own life.
Very true.
And think of everything he was in. And a lot of those. Ferris Bueller's
Day
Off. How many
Absolutely.
how many things were quoted out of that friggin' movie?
There you go. Absolutely. All right, here's a question. What things coming out, movie and TV, do we see as potentially having something quotable? Like for me, Black Adam might be something because Dwayne Johnson can deliver a line at times. There might be one line in that whole movie that everybody's going to know.
I don't know. I love The Rock. I love Dwayne Johnson. I'm kind of over some of his stuff. His wanting to remake Big Trouble in Little China. I'm like, no, because the whole thing about that movie was the tongue-in-cheek that Kurt Russell played a character who believed he was the center of attention and the hero and all this other stuff when he really wasn't. And if you have Dwayne playing his role, then he's not going to play that role. I mean, I don't know if he will allow it. And my biggest fear is it's going to end up being someone like Kevin Hart. Is that his name? The comedian?
Yes.
Because they do a lot of tag team movies. He'll end up playing Wong's character. It was Wong, right? Wang. I always I do that with Shang-Chi too, or Shang-Chi, whatever.
Is
I can't remember the actor's name, or I would have said it.
Dennis Dunn was the actor who played Wang.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're right, Vince. I mean, they want to go back and remake certain movies. Fine. They're going to remake The Exorcist, another very quotable movie. And, they tried with the TV series where they eventually linked it to the movie. I enjoyed the TV series because I love everything Exorcist.
Yeah.
I'm a
Supernatural. You're a big Supernatural.
Yeah. But when it comes to exorcism related stuff, I'm very biased. I enjoyed the series. They dove away from the movies and went into the second season where they were trying to develop characters and they ran out of steam. But thing is, now they want to go back and remake like Big Trouble in Little China. They want to remake The Exorcist. Somebody talked about possibly remaking Die Hard. What? No,
that's just like Highlander. They're wanting to remake Highlander.
Yes, that's another one.
You're not going to be able to put that. Lightning strike twice with that because we don't have Queen. If you try to do it with Queen music again, people are going to you're just copycat, and it's not the same. And then
They'll probably get a
Henry, how do you
magic
pronounce his
dragon
last
from
name? Caviezel, how do you
Jim
say his-
Caviezel. Yeah,
Caviezel? Cavill.
Caviezel. Yeah.
He's not Lambert, Christopher Lambert.
No.
That's not
It is
him. It's
Lambert.
No. I mean, he may be
Huh.
British, but that's about as close as he'll get. I mean, because Christopher Lambert clearly he had the Eastern European thing going
Mhm.
on, and
Yeah.
it gave you the authenticity
Well,
of.
so
yeah.
here's the thing: if you're going to talk about that, who would you get to cast to have the magnitude of Sean Connery for the Spaniard?
a
I don't
Spaniard.
think.
Somebody who actually,
Yes,
You know what? Antonio Banderas.
maybe Antonio Banderas. Maybe.
and he was actually supposed to be Egyptian, so
Yeah.
there you can go there.
Um,
And
That-
Maybe.
that brings-
Okay.
Ben
quick.
Kingsley.
Yes.
Ben Kingsley's played
Kingsley would be a good
everything,
choice.
even an Irish.
Right. Okay. Who was the guy who was part of the Magi in the original Mummy trilogy? You know
Yeah,
who I'm
maybe.
talking about. Okay. Maybe him.
The guy from Stargate.
the one who
I-
played Carlos in the Resident Evil remake.
Carl, the guy who played.
Yes,
Oh,
him.
what the hell is his name? Yeah.
Maybe him. Maybe him. Depends on how much stuff he's done and how much, between the original Mummy movies and now, how much has he taken in to help develop his skills as an actor and the characters he can portray. He might be able to fill that Sean Connery role. Maybe.
Well, then
If I was going to do Highlander, I would do it in that realm, but a different character that was happening, say, parallel to
parallel to
Connor.
what's going on.
But
Okay.
I mean, because you saw what happens when these series stick around too
Sorry.
long, and
What
you end
they
up having
did-
replacing Connor with Duncan, which
Yeah.
just ruined everything.
Well, and then you decided to do the whole thing of making him he's the father of the second coming of Christ instead of them being these tortured souls going through. Or you could have had the original sequel.
Don't bring up aliens. Don't bring up aliens or time travelers. Come on,
Yeah,
don't.
I know.
I hated that second
All right,
movie. parts
let's
of
look
it.
at what they did to the Crow.
Well, The Crow would have worked if they hadn't become so repetitive of themselves.
Yeah.
Because there were several really good comic adaptations, like the one about the American Indian and the cowboy, the
Different time
person
frames.
who was
Yes.
killed by a cult group. There was lots of different potential there, but the movies became just copycats of themselves.
Yeah. And then the TV series, of course, didn't help.
I
at all.
actually liked the Crow TV series. I just don't think it hung around long enough to which channel was it? It was
USA,
channel
wasn't
20. Was it UPN or who was the
Yes. It was UPN.
a lot of those channels put out these really, like The Invisible Man, which was really
That
good,
was
which
on
was
Sci-Fi.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
The
First
second
wave,
wave,
Sci-Fi.
first wave, yeah. All of these that were really good, very unique and had potential, but weren't allowed to develop long enough to gather a cult following, find their feet, and establish the character development.
Right.
I think out of all the ones that like War of the Worlds, they did the War of the Worlds series, which was a sequel to George Powell's original movie from the was it the late 50s, early 60s, 63, I don't remember. And it played right up to modern times right after the ending of that movie. And I was like, wow, this is a really good series. It at least got 2 seasons, and the second season ended it, which I am so tired of watching a series, spending 5, 10, 7 years with it, and then it just ends open-ended because the ratings dropped and whoever was backing cuts it off.
Yeah.
And you never get to see anything. So it's like
You don't get
reading a
resolution.
book and then losing it halfway, 3/4 of the way through, so you never get to see the resolution.
Or you do like the Stephen King Under the Dome TV adaptation, which was like the first. It only should have been 1 season because that book you can't expand it after a certain point.
Right.
Happens in that story, and then it goes, yeah, we're going to just do all this extra stuff, and it's like to expand it out because it got such good ratings the first time.
Look what they did with
I feel like we're dovetailing off into
Stevie
We're
King.
going way off into a different.
I was
Which I'm going to bring us back to something David said. I was going to say The Mist did the same thing, but we can talk about that in another episode.
All right.
About the Titanic. You know, the whole idea that she got back off the thing, got on the boat, but I was always taken aback by how polite and how people were like, yes, you go ahead and go on the boat. You know, you've got a family, go ahead and go on the boat. All women and children. Because in reality, there were men who wanted to, they were men lifeboats that they were given, but they were trying to kill each other to get on. And I was like, have you ever seen what it's like at Christmas during a Black Friday sale? Do you remember what it was like when Cabbage Patch Dolls were the big raise and how a woman was pushed and her leg broken? Just that tells you a lot in itself about society and how there was a more thing of what was proper to do. And today now is every man for themselves. And it's, I was like, I don't know, is that really realistic? Have we changed that much since back then? But when you go back and you read some of the diaries and the books written by survivors, some of it went pretty well for the fact that you knew you were going to die and could end up in the Atlantic with sub-zero water. I don't know, but that's just bringing us back around to that. But
Right.
Go on, David.
I mean, I didn't really have anything to go on. So I just realized that, okay, we're getting away from the original topic and we're starting to delve into a whole other topic of,
Well, the episode's going to be called our best quotable movies and how we derail the conversation.
And how we derail into.
You said how it affects our lives and how it affects society.
That's true. But we do need to have an episode literally dedicated to like just film of like this kind of discussion. Like,
Well, we can always cut
how
parts of this out.
Other people's interpretations of the work either suck, don't get finished, and therefore they suck, or just
suck hard
over in our entertainment.
All right, let's tie it back around. Let's go back to quotable Stephen King stuff,
which is my favorite one. No, just is the thing. If we asked like, what is the most quotable movie? Maximum Overdrive. Honey, this machine just called me an asshole. Curtis, are you dead? Sorry, I cussed again. Oh man.
Death by Coke can. After that movie, I was always afraid. I always stood to the side when I bought a Coke machine. Don't get in the line of fire.
We made you.
Again, a piece of the film that wasn't dialogue, but something that you remembered for a long time and stuck with you.
Yeah.
You got a machine shooting Coke cans out at light speed. Not necessarily dialogue, but something that you carry with you. And, you look at it. To this day, I'll look at a soda machine sometimes a little sideways, like, what are you going to do?
Well, I was always, my favorite
Coke,
was like all the little scenes where the kid's riding on his bike trying to get to where his dad is.
Yeah.
And all the different ways people died, the girl who was killed by her hair roller,
dryer,
I was like, I want to see that movie.
Or the lawnmower.
Well, we
The
saw
ice
the
cream
lawnmower.
truck.
I mean, The Happening was like somebody went, well, let's expand Maximum Overdrive and just see how far it gets.
So I always want to take like Maximum Overdrive and then like make it a secret Terminator movie where it's like Skynet became self-aware and it started to kill people inside the cities before it started to launch the nukes.
Make it a Transformer spinoff.
Sorry.
A Decepticon that just doesn't care and just stays in truck form all the time and just goes around killing people. Come on, it works.
So someone needs to draw the toy truck from Maximum Overdrive as like Optimus Prime, but with the Green Goblin face.
Trick or treat.
Oh.
Trick or treat.
See, now that actually sounds like a Decepticon plan where they want to, like in the sequel, when you always have the hero become the villain, you have Megatron get one of his cronies that look like Optimus Prime and then put the mask on it to where he's gone bad. Oh, he's bad. And he goes around and starts running people over. And the
Well, if
whole
you're going to do that, why don't we just go back to Spielberg's The Duel, where the unnamed, unfaced truck driver is chasing down Dennis Weaver on a trip home from a business meeting and trying to kill him. That's just a disgruntled Decepticon mad that he got a car form instead of a jet form.
It's Joyride.
Don't flip off a transformer.
I mean, you could go even further back. You could say,
Hey, Christmas tree.
That's another one. Running Man.
yeah,
I
another
don't want to be the only asshole in
great
hell.
Arnold
Hey,
Schwarzenegger.
Lighthead. Hey, Christmas tree.
I mean,
All right.
you want to get into Schwarzenegger, right? Like, you've got a ton of stuff for him between Running Man, Total Recall. I mean, all his 80s stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it gets pretty. It's good
Hey,
stuff.
cutie
Welcome-
pie.
Welcome to the party.
All right,
I've got
I'll see you at the
I've got to
party,
store
Rick
I've
Doug.
got to score some steroids.
all right. That's another, another thing we could discuss, or we could end on it. Most quotable actors.
Oh, it's got to be Arnold.
It's
Yeah, that's what we're
Schwarzenegger.
gonna end this
Yeah,
with, this.
Schwarzenegger.
Kurt
Gotta be
Russell.
Arnold.
Kurt Russell's very quotable. Arnold Schwarzenegger's very quotable.
I think Arnold's got Kurt though.
I was about to say, if we want to use the guiding point of what we were using earlier in terms of impact to overall like popular culture, there's
Yeah.
nobody who touches Arnold, right?
Yeah.
They just
Right.
again we can you want to talk about quotes, he's got whole movies, right? I mean, we rattled off Commando, Total Recall, Running Man, right? Like the Terminator franchise.
Raw
It's
Deal.
just, I mean, the Terminator franchise exists just so Arnold can show up, someone hand him a paycheck, him turn around and say, come with me if you want to live, and I'll be back. And then he walks off the set and he's done.
Yeah, that's what do you think
Like,
he
that's
said
all
when
he
he got his
does.
first paycheck?
Hey, Cameron, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
No, I think Schwarzenegger's the king of quotable moments. There's Cary Grant. Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. There are those other moments, but nobody has the sheer volume that Schwarzenegger has.
That's
Yeah, so let's do favorite, since we're already here, favorite quoted line from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, damn.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
It's not a tumor.
I'm not the pervert. I just wanted Turbo Man doll.
I don't know.
Oh man, I because like you started doing that, and I was like, Mike was like, put down that cookie.
Put the cookie down.
It's better than coming.
There were a couple of Conan quotes that were really good too.
I've been trying to think of one, but I can't think of a Conan.
What is it when,
All right.
when he's doing his prayer, right? And he's like, if you can help me, if you can.
Nobody will remember whether we were good men or bad men. Only that many battled in something, and I can't remember it. And if you don't help me, then the hell with you.
The hell with
What the
you.
hell with
The hell
you?
with you.
All right,
Conan,
Vince.
what is best in life?
There you go.
To win to buy stocks. to
What?
You crush
to
your
have an obedient wife.
To see them driven before you and to hear the lamentations. of the
iron.
And
women.
to hear the limitations
There it
of
is.
the women. Yeah.
There you go.
No,
To see your enemies dragged before you.
Hear the lamentations of the women.
To have your mother-in-law cleaning your living room. What? No, that's not no.
No.
Colin, you got one? I'm trying to think if I go.
I don't know. I mean, I'm always quoting "Get to the Chopper."
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Come on,
Yeah.
don't be a wussy. You stick the knife in me.
Hey, what was the no? He's like, I'm right here. Come on. Come get me.
on,
Come get me.
What are you waiting for?
I haven't been in the business as long as you have, but I have learned one thing: to always give the audience what they want.
I crack up every time in True Lies when he smashes the car windshield. Give me the goddamn page.
One thing I always used to quote was, what is it when he says, stop it? She's like, feed me now. She has not left me alone for like the last 20 minutes. I'm going to rip your head off and shit down your goddamn neck.
I hope you have enough
Or-
room for my fist.
or-
You ram it in your stomach and break your goddamn spine.
Oh my God, I've never heard Frank Oz doing Yoda, doing Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is great. Here's one. It's only Con will probably. Dr. Detroit.
Oh,
Like,
boy.
Mom. I'm going to rip your head off and shit down your neck. I can't do it because I'm laughing so much. I used to be able to do Dr. Detroit really well. That's what happens when you had your jaw broke and half your face doesn't work like it used to. You know, every day for me is, do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? Nobody understands the words coming out of your mouth.
Ain't nobody understands what's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, I hate it.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Tell us down below what your favorite quotes are for movies that you've watched growing up and everything. And until next time, have a good one.